The views and opinions expressed by the speaker, host, commentator, or other third party in Ariva webinars, e-learning events, and/or virtual masterclass are those of the speaker, host, commentator, or third party and do not necessarily reflect and represent the views and opinions of Ariva. Furthermore, Ariva does not warrant, express, or imply the merchantability and fitness for a particular purpose of any product information, service, or process presented by the speaker, host, commentator, or third party, and Ariva specifically disclaims any legal liability or responsibility for the accuracy, completeness, or usefulness of any product information, service, or process presented. Finally, material or information presentation, opinion, process, or service on any trade name, trademark, manufacturer, or otherwise during Ariva webinars, e-learning events, and/or virtual masterclass do not constitute or imply Ariva's endorsement or recommendation of such opinion, process, service, item, or organization.
Good morning, everyone. We're live. Good morning to our participants and good morning to our FB Live and YouTube viewers. So it's another free e-learning session brought to you by Ariva Academy. My name is Irish Malanda Samson, your host, and joining me is our moderator, one of the good-looking Ariva partner speakers and TV talk show host, rather, Mr. Howell Mabalot. Good morning, Sir Howell.
Good morning, our beautiful Madam President. It's always a pleasure to work with you. Am I coming across clearly?
So far, Sir Howell, clear 111.
Okay, thank you so much. And you still look beautiful as always.
Thank you so much, Sir Howell. So we would like to welcome you to our session, How Do HR Leaders Manage Change After COVID-19? Again, this is a free live webinar, so please take advantage of our free live webinar. Rest assured that Ariva Academy will continue to give you free e-learning sessions. This is our way of giving back to the society. This is our share of advocacy to the HR professionals, to the working professionals. But of course, please do support us. Please help us by sharing this free e-learning session to your wall. Share this to your colleagues, co-workers, boss, managers, so that more and more people will benefit on this e-learning and learn from this e-learning session. With that, let's start. Are you ready? Please type in Ariva in the chat box now. Let me know if you are ready. Hello, Rochelle, Marianne, Janeline, Christine. Good morning, everyone. Ms. Leia, Joanna, Raya. Good morning. And Arcadio Mercado. Good morning, sir. And Ms. Vivian, hello. Good morning, ma'am. Okay, let's start. In order for us to have a smooth flow of our e-learning session, here are the following house rules. For those of you who are first-time viewers of our webinar, please type in hi in the chat box now. If this is your second time, third time, and time of watching Ariva webinars, please type hello and let us know where you're watching right now. Maria Teresa, good morning. Okay. Miss Jane, hi. Hello again, Miss Jane. Okay. Wow, Raya Claudette is watching from Baguio City. Ingat po kayo dyan. Ms. Grisel from Bulacan. Andeo from Iloilo. Okay. Thank you so much. Ms. Janeline is from Baguio City as well. Okay, let's do an audio check. Please type in 111 to show if you can hear me loud and clear. I am coming across clearly. I am audible. Type in 111 right now. Okay, thank you, Jenny. Maria Richilda from Manila. Okay, thank you so much. 111 so far, Sir Howell. 111. Type in 222 if you cannot hear me, no sound at all. 2121 means the sound is breaking up or lagging. And question mark if you don't understand anything. So far, 111. Wow, we have a viewer from Palawan. Good morning, sir. John Peter Villa. Okay. Moving on, we will be having a quick break later after the presentation of our guest speaker and before we move on to our Q&A portion. Participants' microphones will be temporarily disabled by the administrator during discussion to avoid interruptions. For questions and clarifications during the provided time after each topic, please click the raise hand button for the administrator to enable the microphone for live questions. Yes, we will entertain live questions from our Zoom participants. Questions will be entertained after each topic of the session. Type in your questions at the Q&A box. For those of you who are watching in our YouTube and FB page, please type in your questions at the comment box. One question at a time will be entertained. For comments and feedback, please scan this QR code. This will be directed to our feedback form. Please give us your comments, suggestions, topics to discuss in order for us to improve our future e-learning sessions. Okay, so before you introduce our speaker, Sir Howell, please allow me to greet our out-of-the-country participants. And they are watching from Mumbai, India, Johor Bahru, Malaysia, good morning, Petaling Jaya, Malaysia, Singapore, Bangkok, Thailand, Dubai, UAE, and of course, Colorado, USA, Mr. Scott Friedman, good morning. Okay, please do the honors in introducing our speaker today, Mr. Howell Mabalag.
Thank you, Miss Irish Malonda, our beautiful president, for the pleasure of introducing our speaker for today. And I'd like to say hello to Sir Scott Friedman from Colorado, USA. So our speaker for today is an HR professional with more than 25 years of experience in the full spectrum of HR at both Singapore and regional level. She has led major strategic changes in the various organizations that she has worked in and also has had experience in managing large HR projects at both local, regional, and national levels. She was accorded as the Outstanding Contributor to HR in 2017 by HRM Asia and Leading HR Leader Award in 2008 by SHRI for her contributions to the work she did at Certis Cisco when she successfully managed a major work wage restructuring project for thousands of workers. Ladies and gentlemen, let's all hear it from Dr. Jaclyn Lee.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Hope you're doing well.
Good morning, Dr. Jaclyn.
Can you hear me loud and clear?
Yes, we can hear you clearly, sir. Ma'am. And Ma'am Jaclyn, Dr. Jaclyn Lee, it's nice to see you again after a year.
Hi, nice meeting you.
I remember I was able to interview you last year during the HR Congress at the, of course, SMX convention.
Yes.
And how have you been doing since then?
Doing well. I wish I could be in Philippines, in Manila, to see you guys, but unfortunately, of the COVID-19. But otherwise, doing very well in Singapore. Thank you so much.
And we're excited now on your take as to how HR leaders will be able to manage change after COVID-19. Now that at least 7 pharmaceutical companies are lining up to be the first ever company to produce the vaccine against the COVID-19 virus.
Okay.
And we're excited for what you'll be sharing with us.
Okay, looking forward to it. Okay.
So take it away, Dr. Jaclyn Lee.
Okay, let's Start. Okay, I hope everyone can see my screen. Okay, right. So good morning, everyone. I believe this is a very important topic and a hot topic in what's happening in today's COVID world. And I especially tailored this talk for the Philippines, but for other parts of the world, for those who are listening in, this is also for you and for the HR community. Right, so let's go on. Now, if you think about what is happening in the digital transformation space, from the first industry revolution to the fourth industry revolution. So we started with the steam engine, which is mechanization, and then we move on to electrification, automation, and actually today we're living in the age of autonomy. So even before the COVID-19 has happened, there was already rapid digitization, and now we are living in a world of end-to-end digital systems, intelligent systems, artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, robotics, and data is really a big thing in today's digital economy. So we've really moved from mechanization, from the first industry revolution to the fourth industry revolution, which is the 21st century autonomy. So if you think about what's happening in terms of the impact of digital transformation, a lot has happened in terms of the nature of work and the job. So jobs are now replaced by advanced robotics and machine intelligence at a much faster pace than what is being created. And if you think about the innovation economy, actually what's very powerful today is really information and data. And in really the new form of capital, it's really about being creative, having cross-disciplinarity, having the ability to integrate your skills across a broad spectrum instead of just a narrow spectrum. And the new skills are really in artificial intelligence, data analytics, and 3D printing. So individuals, if you think about today with a ubiquitous device, which is your handphone, ordinary people now have access to digital networks to acquire knowledge, communicate with one another, and conduct businesses. So we're living in an age where our employees are empowered, very much empowered because of the handphone, the device. So as a result, we are dealing with a much more sophisticated workforce. Workforce is well equipped with knowledge. So if we think about what's happening to the jobs, the future of jobs, if you look at the graph on the left, physical manual labor, very routine administrative tasks are gradually being replaced by robotics and machines. And the newer jobs are going to be in a very creative, innovative kind of, space. So as a result of now the software's ability to learn, and to be able to take over tasks that are very repetitive, there's going to be a really industry 4.0. It's going to be a really downward trend for mid and low skill jobs involving manual and routine tasks. But the newer jobs are going to be in very creative, innovative space, and of course in the area of data. So as employers, for us as HR and practitioners, how do we retrain our employees? And how do you think about new management and reward systems to be able to retrain our employees and incentivize them towards the industry 4.0? And for employees, I always kind of share, really it's about embracing new technologies. Let's not be afraid of new technologies. And learning today is not just once, but it's multiple times in your life. For me, I've been upgrading myself for the last 20 years. Even after I've gotten my PhD, I've continued to take on short-term courses, learn programming, learn new things in the area of data analytics. So basically for all of us, we really have to learn multiple times in our lives. So the cross-disciplinary learning and a growth mindset. So if you have a chance to look at Satya Nadella's book, Hit Reset, he really talks about how he transformed Microsoft into an organization that has the growth mindset and really continuous and lifelong learning. So as HR leaders, how do we get our employees to have this kind of mindset, new mindset about continue to learn? And really learning, it's about taking personal responsibility. While the employer can do so much because things are moving at such a rapid pace, employees are really required to really own learning themselves and to continue to reskill. So you ask me, Jaclyn, what has all this got to do with COVID-19, the new normal? So if you think about this digital storm that's already happening in the last, perhaps 7 to 8 years, now on top of the digital storm, you have COVID-19, that is, right now coming, and hitting us in the face. So you think about it, COVID-19 has really shaken world economies, industries, as well as companies and individuals. So HR leaders really right now, we are required a lot more than ever to lead and manage these sweeping changes that's happening in your respective organizations. So I think about how do we lead the new normal? So you say, Jack, how do we lead the new normal? There's so many things happening, and I am required right now to rethink about how I manage the role of HR. So let's go into this step by step, and let me share some of my learnings. So COVID-19 actually, if you ask me, has made HR the most important job in sustainability. Why is that so? Because you think about it, 4 in 5 of the world's workforce is on lockdown due to COVID-19. You think about Australia, after settling down now, there's a reinfection and 6 weeks of lockdown. So with no end in sight, so if you think about this, New Zealand has gone into lockdown again. Singapore emerged from 2 months of lockdown, and now we're trying to recover. So the post-pandemic world really needs one familiar function to tie social sustainability together, which is HR. So we are the key to bring the workforce, the business, the environment together in this pandemic world. So how do we do that? So you think about it, what kind of roles do we play in this kind of post-pandemic world? Really, if you ask me, the very first key thing is really the safety and security of our workforce. How does HR work with internal operation departments, the CEO, to ensure that our workforce is safe and secure during this period, that you don't get infections in the workplace? You can't imagine having an infection in the workplace, your whole workforce will be down. So that brings us to the second topic of business continuity planning. So when we were, in February, late January, early February, when we heard about the infections going around the world, it started with China, of course. We were already putting on our gears, starting to break our teams into Team A, Team B, quickly getting our whole organization organized in such a way that if one team is down, the other team can function. And of course, very important, we had people in HR doing contact tracing, ensuring that something should happen. How do we do contact tracing and isolate, the cases? So important that we think about these issues of BCP, safety, security. Of course, the third very important function is staff deployment strategies that links to operational plans. So with lockdowns happening, when we had 2 months of lockdown, we were all working from home. And then how do we ensure that we deploy our people in such a way that we continue to operate and operations doesn't suffer? So again, the fourth important area that HR practitioners have to look at is really work from home policies and guidelines. Because now, after Singapore has gone through that 2 months of lockdown, we are starting to go back to the offices, but still working from home. But then perhaps 10% of workforce, essential services, then you have maybe another 20% when things looks better. So we have to come up with this kind of guidelines. Who gets to work from home? Who gets to go to the office? What kind of essential services need to be in the office? So again, work from home policies and guidelines are so important during this time of COVID-19. Mentoring heads of departments on how to cope with the crisis. So, I had a lot of heads come to me. So what should I do, Jack? How do we manage my team? How do I ensure that people are safe and secure? So I had to spend a lot of time talking to the heads of department, ensuring that they know how to cope with the crisis, managing it, tying it together. And of course, very important during this time, a lot of your companies are definitely affected. I believe Philippines has gone into lockdown too. And, when your organization is in lockdown, your business cannot function, you're going to have a lot of cost issues, right? How do you work with the CEO on cost containment strategies, ensuring that your workforce is lean? If you have to retrench, how do you retrench? How do you bring down your staffing costs? Okay, and of course, the last part, which is so key, is really sustaining employee morale. and mental well-being. How do we take this period of time to ensure that employees are intact, that they don't get too depressed? How do you continue to communicate with the employees even though they are working from home? So these are such important roles that as HR practitioners we have to play during this period of the COVID-19 crisis. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause for Q&A right now before we go on to the next segment of the seminar. Questions?
All right. So you know what? The first 5 minutes of your lecture, Dr. Jaclyn Lee, has been worth at least an hour of lecture already. I really loved how you have explained to the HR practitioners the important roles we need to play, from safety and security down to sustaining the morale and well-being and the mental well-being of our employees. So this is the Q&A part. Everybody from within the Zoom and FB Live and LinkedIn, please type in your question now. So any question about the mechanization, electrification, automation, autonomy, the digital storm and the life storm, as mentioned, the COVID-19. So what we'll do now is we'll lead from so none so far, somebody said, but Dr. Jaclyn, I'll read some from the pre-sent questions. And let me start with Elizabeth. How do you show support or manage anxiety, stress, or other mental issues experienced by employees while working from home? This falls under the category of sustaining morale and mental well-being of our employees.
I think it's important during this period of work from home and also the pandemic that HR has to play a leading role in ensuring mental well-being. So what are some of the interesting things that we have done in our organizations? We do this series called Stay Home and Learn. So we have this weekly learning topics, short 10-minute bite size. We get employees to log onto this platform and they continue to do this training. Then I do a virtual yoga sessions, virtual Pilates. We get instructors to come and we actually broadcast it through Zoom and get people to exercise. And of course, we have this series, we use Workplace to continue to push out interesting articles not related to work about mental well-being. How do you keep yourself well during this period of time? We also do a lot of other activities such as I do pulse surveys to make sure that everyone is okay. Do you have the tools you need to do your work? So recently we just completed a pulse survey and we have a satisfaction rate of almost 80%. People feel adequately well-equipped during this period to do their jobs. So we do a lot of mechanisms. So another thing that I do with my team is quite interesting. I have Friday check-ins. So every Friday afternoon before the week closes, I will have half an hour. We just play a jigsaw puzzle game or we do Pictionary. So everyone feels that there is a sense of community. And I have regular meetings on Mondays. Everyone starts the week by telling me what they plan to do for the week so that we keep in touch. So these are very regular check-ins. So when you are working in a virtual environment and you're working from home, you need to have a lot of regular check-in with employees. And we also have a platform where people can send their queries or tell us how they feel, if they feel that there's enough support. If not, how can we help them? So we do a lot of these activities to ensure that people are well integrated and people are feeling safe during this period of time. So these are some examples.
Thank you, Dr. Jaclyn Lee, for those beautiful practical examples which we can do ourselves and for our company and our organization. From Ann Deo at the Q&A box, good day, Dr. Jaclyn. You mentioned about retrenchment. How can we tell that it is already time to retrench employees? I'm a new HR practitioner.
I think this question is something that you have to work with your organization. Because I think it depends on what kind of business sectors you're in. So the other day, I was just being interviewed by a TV network in Singapore. And I said that not all sectors are down. Look at Netflix, look at Microsoft. look at the tech companies. Apple yesterday had a capitalization of 2 trillion. So you think about the companies that are thriving are the logistic firms, precision engineering for us, pharmaceuticals, food. So there are some industries that are not affected, but the industries that are heavily affected, for example, our airlines are so badly hit. So what we do is that we try not to go on a retrenchment route. We try and go on no pay leave. We try and ask people to maybe take a block of 6 months and work in another job, or perhaps take a 20% pay reduction. So we try and do as much as we can to save jobs rather than do this retrenchment exercise. In Singapore, we have quite interesting scheme called a job support scheme, which the government subsidizes 10 to 50% of salaries during this period of time. Yeah, so our government is stepping in quite aggressively to help the organizations, the companies. And we also have this thing called the SG United, where we are putting employees that are retrenched onto job learning support schemes that are supported by the government. So these are some things you can do to avoid retrenchment. If you have to retrench, then I think your company would know if you're not doing well and you have to retrench workers. Yeah. Thank you.
Salute to Singapore as a government who provides for its people and constituents. Anonymous attendee asks you this, Dr. Jaclyn, aside from trusting the employees and their outputs, how can employees measure the productivity of the employees in a work from home setup?
This is a pretty tricky question. Productivity, it depends on how you want to measure, but for most of the jobs that can work from home, I think you want to set tangible goals. Like with my team, I ensure that I set specific goals. That's why I do Monday check-ins as well as Friday check-ins. Every Monday, let's get together and think about what we need to achieve for this week. What are some of the goals or tasks we need to achieve before we start the week. So I find that when you're working from home, you need to do more regular check-ins. You need to set quite clear and specific goals with your team, so that by end of the week, by Friday, you sit down together again, you're quite clear what you have accomplished. And what we do is that we have a Skype for Business account in our computers. So I get everyone to log in. I said everyone needs to log in. I need to know you're online, from 9 to 5, 9 to 6 o'clock, so that we know that everyone is now online working. So these are some of the measures that I take to ensure that productivity remains high. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Jaclyn Lee. Thank you, Andeo, the anonymous attendee who asked the question, and Elizabeth for those questions. Now, we still have one more, or do you want us to move on?
I think we can move on. We have quite a bit to cover.
Okay. So for Jane Darol, I'll be reading your question after a few slides. So you may proceed now, Dr. Jaclyn.
Thank you. So if you think about, what's happening in COVID-19, so I'd like to share a little bit about the emerging HR trends post-COVID-19. So I think culture transformation and realignment of values in post-COVID-19 will be one of inclusion, sustainability, and integration. How do you bring people together? How do you look at social sustainability and being inclusive, Second trend I see will be designing new career structures and jobs because of the pervasiveness of telecommuting and digital technology that's going to happen during this period and even after the pandemic. I don't think life will be the same. I think things will change. There'll be new models of work and also new leadership models. So the question about how do you measure productivity? Then again comes, you need to have team structures that can build trust, encourage debate and productive conflict. So let me go into these three trends one at a time. So if we think about culture transformation and realignment. So change management takes on a very digital format. So for those of you who are working from home and your organizations, and most of you are probably not physically in the office, one very good way of continuing to encourage productivity and engaging workforce is encourage crowdsourcing of ideas and collaboration through the use of digital platforms. So for example, in Google, if someone has a problem, they will post it on a digital board and anybody can go into that digital board to look at that problem and suggest ideas for change. So the fact is that in today's world is so complex. None of us are able to solve a problem all by ourselves. So the idea is the crowdsourcing of ideas. We get everyone to come in to contribute to problem solving. Second is really encourage organizational listening, which is so important right now because of what's happening. People are anxious. So HR, really acts as a tool to listen to the ground sentiments, what's happening. So in fact, I encourage you to take this time to do rapid pulse surveys. Simple 3 minute surveys, 10 questions, get people to, you don't need a 50% participation rate in a pulse survey. It could be even only 20%. But it tells you a little bit about what's happening on the ground. So listening to the ground is very critical. So the third part is really using collective intelligence to solve problems relating to workplace health, integration, and diversity. So in Netflix, the culture has this concept of collective teams. So they bring teams together, and the teams actually sit down to look at problems, problem solve, and to be able to come up with ideas, solutions for certain issues. So if you think about change management, as I emphasized, three ideas: crowdsourcing of ideas, encouraging organization listening, and using collective intelligence to solve problems related to workplace health, integration, and safety. All right, so let me move on to future of work. Really, if you think about the future of work, it's really about the worker well-being. So with the growth of the digital economy, our always-on way of working, the stress in having to manage work-life integration. So I have several employees who have young children. So during the period of the lockdown, they were so stressed out because the kids were running around in the house. It's really very hard to concentrate, and some of them may have issues. They don't have a house with maybe a personal space for doing their work. So there is a lot of these issues. So basically, the stress, don't underestimate the stress of having to manage this kind of work-life integration. And now dealing with the coronavirus, can you imagine the additional mental stress or being afraid that you get a coronavirus? And so assisting workers with their well-being has never been more important than now. So that's why I share that you must continue to engage your workforce, do regular pulse survey, do little things, to just get them to feel good about themselves, even your virtual yogas, virtual exercises. And the focus on worker well-being is important as workers now experience anxiety in dealing with the coronavirus. Okay, so how do managers, encourage open communications and use platforms to share information with the workforce? Two, platforms such as Yammer, Slace, and HipChat allows employees to upload information for concerns within the organization. So for those of you who have Microsoft Office, Yammer comes free. It's a brainstorming and problem sharing platform. Slace, HipChat. So some of these platforms are available and free on the internet. You can use it within your organizations. Of course, another new, much more sophisticated model of decision making that allows for diverse views, it's really called group decision support systems. So this kind of group decision support systems allow employees to log onto the system and contribute ideas for change management, and even allows them to vote, and it's an anonymous platform. So we have used this kind of platforms, and it's been very, very effective for change management. So let me move on. So for example, in SUTD, in our university, we use this tool called Filter. And basically, it is a survey tool that incorporates culture survey, as well as a brainstorming tool. So basically, we use this tool to survey culture, collect data, collect ideas for change from the whole university population. We collect the ideas in real time, alignment as well. And because of what we have done, innovation and success follows because of the use of such a tool. So we have come out as the top emerging university in the world. We are number 5th in the world for telecommunications. So this kind of brainstorming platforms and the ability of employees on the ground to contribute ideas has really, really resulted in us being able to harness the ideas for change management. So this is one area, okay? Second one is, so there was a company that I worked with, which is a vitamin company. They came to me and they were trying to get ideas on the ground from their employees to be able to contribute ideas for change. So if you look at this kind of tool, they allow for ranking of ideas. So we can bring in 50 people into a decision room. Everyone sits down and think about ideas for change to bring the organization closer to the objectives. So if you look at the left-hand side, we have this organization called Fit Lion. They were able to come up with ideas. Oh, we need more job descriptions. We need to have clearer roles. We need to have a proper org structure, set out roles clearly. And then on the right, they want more hierarchy. They want more job descriptions. So as a result of this kind of change management, this company became very successful. And for a startup, they achieved a $10 million of revenue as a result of this kind of brainstorming digital platforms. Right, so I'm going to pause here again for the second segment because I do not want to overload you too much, information, and allow you a little bit time to digest this kind of very new information. New change
management ideas. It's in time for the questions thrown to us by Jane Daarol and Ms. Vivian Fuentes. From Jane Daarol. Good day, Dr. Jaclyn. How can we engage managers for strategic planning when there are uncertainties of the future? Thank you.
This is a very, very good question. I think that because of this uncertainty, the more so you should do strategic planning. Because things are so volatile, all your plans are being thrown out, So for example, I'll give you an example. Our university was supposed to start the semester in May. But can you imagine it will be such a disaster in May with all these things that are happening? So we had to quickly call people, gather the team together very quickly, use the Zoom platform and brainstorm and come up with ideas. And we managed to shift the semester to September. As a result of shifting semester to September, we not only averted the crisis, but we had more students, intake of graduate students and undergraduate students than we anticipated. So the idea is that, in fact, during this period of crisis, strategic planning is even more important, and you need to do it, in fact, in a very rapid manner. You can't wait to say that, oh, let's wait for 2 months, 3 months. Sometimes it's a matter of weeks when a certain change comes your way. Most governments have to respond to this virus. So you have to quickly gather your teams. And the wonderful thing now is they have Zoom platforms. So use digital platforms, use Zoom platforms, use digital brainstorming platforms. Bring teams together to brainstorm ideas. In fact, right now, we are assembling quite a couple of teams with our strat planning to look at how can we in fact use this period of crisis to even give our organization a competitive advantage. Some of you may be able to capitalize on this kind of pandemic to create opportunities. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Jaclyn Lee. I couldn't agree more. And I laud the Department of Education here in the Philippines. In August, early this month, I was able to interview the Undersecretary for the Department of Education on Alternative Learning System. It was supposed to be June. The school opening became August 24. But because there was an MCQ or a stricter implementation of the lockdown, we moved it to October 5. And not only that, there will be 0 face-to-face classes. And I thank you for that, Dr. Jaclyn Lee. And I agree with you that all the more that our leaders should be more into strategic planning. Now, from Ma'am Vivian Fuentes, as HR, do you observe major change in the attitude of our millennial employees due to the pandemic and lockdown?
Okay, that's a very, very good question. So I noticed that our millennial employees actually thrive during this period of the lockdown. A lot of my younger staff, because of the savviness and pervasiveness of technology, they are able to adapt very quickly to use of telecommuting and new platforms for change management. So the younger employees have been able to adjust actually very, very well. But of course, I think they miss the social interaction with their colleagues, being able to get together. So I noticed that my 20-somethings in my team are missing their friends, So what we do is we try to have virtual parties. So I get them, hey, why don't we have a birthday party, virtual birthday cake? So we actually get a cake, virtual birthday cake, and we actually sing a birthday song. So you can do things on the virtual platform. And the younger generation seems to like this kind of ideas. Thank you.
Thank you for that. From an anonymous attendee, can a probationary contract be terminated due to pandemic?
I think this has to depend on your respective country's labor laws. So in Singapore, we have labor laws that allow us to terminate a probationary employee if they don't pass the probation period and they are deemed not, the performance is deemed not satisfactory. Of course, you have to terminate with salary. But if you are a confirmed employee, our Employment Act does protect a confirmed employee that you need the proper steps to be able to kind of validate that the person is not performing. So please, refer back to your respective countries' labor laws in order to, understand whether you can terminate a probationary employee.
Thank you, Dr. Jaclyn Lee. And moving on, would you like us to?
I think I can take one more question. Yes, one more.
Shall we proceed to the slides?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Dr.
Right.
Jaclyn.
Okay, so thinking about designing new careers and jobs. So you think about what's happening in the pandemic. We HR practitioners have to now really be very innovative and creative about new careers and jobs. So telecommuting is going to be the new normal and mode of working. Google and Twitter, in fact, are already allowing employees to work from home permanently if they choose to. You don't need to come to the office. So that's very revolutionary. It's really now about measuring results and not time work. So just now someone asked a question about productivity. So you want to kind of now look at results and not how much time I put in. Meetings have become emails. Okay, and more emails will become instant messaging. So I noticed that during this period of time, I'm texting my employees. I am calling them much more often than I do when I'm in the office because I don't see them face to face. So it's easy to make a phone call. And digitization, I predict, will move at a much more accelerated speed as what it is today. So if you think about all these things, let's look at the rate of digital transformation. In a recent survey by Deloitte, they found out that the technology has really moved ahead. In fact, technological innovation and the rapid change of technology has gone far ahead, but yet public policy is not able to catch up with the rate of technological change. And if you notice that businesses are also lagging far behind, but interestingly, individuals and technology has a much smaller gap. And that can be explained because all of us have a handphone device. We're using app. If you think about China, there's no more cash. Everyone's used a QR code to pay for services. Everything is now using digital wallets. And in Singapore, all our payment gateways are now using digital wallets. In fact, I don't even need to go out with cash in my wallet anymore. So if you think about the rate of this kind of problems that's happening, we really have a unique opportunity, HR, to help our organizations adapt to this kind of technological change, help people to adapt to new models of work and careers. And, basically, and also, as HR leaders, I, in fact, spend a lot of my time with our, HR society. And I join a lot of public agencies to rally ideas to encourage changes in our public policy. So don't think that you cannot rally change. You should play your part. Join societies to really push for changes because public policy is very, very slow in most countries to catch up. Fortunately, in Singapore, our government has been very, very proactive in trying to close the gap between technology and what's happening in the workforce. And lots of schemes right now that we do to encourage training, adaptation of skills, a lot of grants given to businesses to digitize. So we need to close the gaps between technology, individuals, businesses, society, and governments. So moving on next, so you think about the talent market. So what's very interesting, that we look at the talent spectrum. So on the left, it's your traditional organizations, employees. And of course, you have joint ventures for those of you who are working in multinational corporations and big companies. And we have managed service providers, outsource essential services such as maybe maintenance of your buildings. But if you think about it more and more in the post-pandemic world, there are going to be a lot more contractors, gig workers, and crowdsourced talents. So a lot of people ask me, so Jaclyn, what is crowdsourced talent? So if you go onto the digital platforms like Upwork, you can find that there are millions and millions of freelancers on this crowdsourced platform. A lot of the consulting companies and IT companies use the crowdsourced platform as 10% of their talent pool. So if I need, for example, someone who is skilled in cybersecurity and I can't find the talent, I might be able to go onto the crowdsourced platform to ask for this kind of talent to do a specific piece of work. or I need to have something that's specialized, but I don't need this person to be here full term, but I need the person to do a task. So a crowdsource platform, crowdsource talent is very, very good for very task-specific kind of work versus in the traditional workspace. The jobs are more function specific, like HR, your finance, but here it's more task specific. And you notice gig workers, like in my department, I'm hiring, in fact, gig workers right now. I have someone who doesn't come into my office, but she does social media for me 100% working from home. And that's perfectly fine. And of course, contractors, you get contractors to come in for a certain period of time, 6 months, to do a specific piece of work. So as HR leaders, we need now to be a lot more innovative and creative to move from the left spectrum traditional to a lot more open platform where we must embrace talents in this field, because there's going to be more and more people that are in this platform as a result of the post-pandemic world and the pervasiveness of technology. So these are the different talent spectrum. So let me move on to the last portion, which is really on new leadership models and teams. Really, the new normal would require new leadership models. So if you think about it, please, no more micromanaging. It is very hard for us to be checking on our employees what they're doing on a daily basis. But as a result of remote work, it is harder to keep a very close eye on your employees. So trust is going to be a very essential part of mindset change. Leaders will need to trust your employees. You need to really change your mindset. As I explained, measure performance of employees by results and not time work. So what we do is Monday, tell us what you want to do. Let's set specific goals. We are very clear by this week, I want to do short-term goals. By in a monthly basis, mid-term goal, and maybe in a 6-month or 1-year basis, more long-term goals. And please allow flexibility. As long as workers are delivering results, it really does not matter what time of day they're performing the job functions, because you can no longer really keep an eye on them. And please lead by example. Set a good example and taking the first steps. And be a mentor. Our job now in this post-pandemic world is really as mentors and coaches. We're no longer boss. Okay? Your job is just to be there to be a mentor, to coach your team, and to offer advice to workers that are being disrupted by the new normal. There's nothing more important than getting our people to adapt to what's happening in the new normal because of what is changing in this post-pandemic world. Right, so key principles in communication. So in communication, as you think about how to communicate with your employees, don't have too many tools. Decide on a few, 2 or 3 tools that you can use. And most important, your tool must help focus with collaboration and building communities. So whatever tool you're using, like workplace, you build a community like Yammer, some of these collaborative platforms like group decision making, support systems, is really building communities. So in this world today, it's about building communities. It's about getting people to work in teams, collective wisdom. One person is very hard. So in our university, we organize people by multidisciplinary teams to solve very complex problems because we work in the areas of urban planning, in the area of climate change. We work in the area of data, in the area of telecommunications. So we have so many topics that one person can't solve the problem. So we bring people together from different disciplines together, in fact, in what we call a network of teams to solve problems. So in your organization, as HR leaders, please focus on building communities and encourage community building. And please bring the young and old together. Get everyone to find a common purpose. It doesn't matter you're 25, 35, and you're 50, 60 years old. In fact, I have someone in my department that it's near retirement age. And in fact, it took me 2 years to transform his mindset. Today, he's as agile as the younger generation. And I found that with the older employee, they have so much wisdom and knowledge that they can coach the young. And I get my younger ones to coach the older ones in how to use technology. So if you know how to harmonize young and old, you can really capitalize on the kind of talents that each of them have. And make sure that your communication is very consistent. Don't say something today and next week giving another story. Whatever you need to do, even if it's a painful decision, be consistent in your communication. Be clear. And choose a platform that's seamless and easy to use. Don't choose something that's too complex and difficult to use. And while there are tools, just remember, there's nothing like the human touch. You need to spend time connecting and developing employees at the same time, mentoring them and coaching them. So I have a new book that I recently wrote called Accelerating Organization Culture Change, Innovation Through Digital Tools. In this book, I have chapters on what's happening in the digital economy. How do you as digital leaders digital transformation? I have an entire toolkit inside on how do you do change, culture transformation. I have, in fact, 2 or 3 very interesting case studies that I have personally led, and really on type of digital tools you can use for transformation. So you can get this book from Amazon, from Boots Depository, from Emerald, from Barnes & Noble, on the key platforms. It's in Kindle digital format as well as in paperback. Right, so thank you very much. Please connect with me on LinkedIn. I have a lot of articles on LinkedIn. And if you write to me on LinkedIn, I'm happy to reply you. If you have any questions, please continue to talk to me. So I'm going to reserve, the last part of the session to more Q&A. I think you're on mute, Howard.
Thank you so much, Dr. Jaclyn Lee. And everybody put your hands together for Dr. Jaclyn Lee.
Thank you.
That was very fruitful and highly informative. And for our participants, you may want to post your questions and write your comments at the comment section for FB Live and LinkedIn and YouTube. And for the Zoom participants, type in your question at the Q&A box. We'll be right back after 2 minutes for our, of course, mid-session break. Don't go away.